For those of you who have absolutely nothing better to do with your day today, I am right back in your face with another MMA Vivisection. I just spent 2 straight hours talking this UFC on Fox card, and I never know how I end up doing that because it's not like that Fox card is worth shit, but I just spent all this time talking about it, and now I'm doing another one of these. I'm joined by my esteemed co-hosts, Eddie Mercado and Victor Rodriguez, to talk Bellator 159, Caldwell versus Timanglo. And I always feel like I'm saying that name wrong, but Eddie, how you doing?
It's because you are, but that's okay. We'll get to it.
All right.
I'm well. It's good to be here. I'm a little bummed, though, because this will be the second straight Bellator card that I will have to watch on tape delay because I will be attending the Glory 32 event in my backyard in Norfolk, Virginia this Friday. So I'm gonna have to miss the Bellator card, but I'll get to watch Glory 32. So.
Look at who's humble bragging.
I was gonna say that's a good problem to have, but I mean, if you're gonna rub it the fuck in, hey, listen, man, you lost the sympathy there. I'm sorry.
I think it was more of just pointing out that there was a tape delay that bummed everybody out, kind of last week.
Yeah,
for good reason.
Yeah. God, I really hate when my Maserati's in the garage and I have to drive my Mercedes.
What are we common folk? I go around driving this Rolls Royce. I mean, the Bugatti's right there.
It's a tough life, man. It's a tough life.
It is. Anyway, Vic, how you doing? You're back from vacation now. So am I. So I didn't miss much of you because I wasn't here either.
Oh, well, okay. Hey, nothing better than coming back and saying, yeah, we didn't miss you. That's a good way to go.
Personally, I'm just saying I didn't do any work that you needed to be a part of.
No, that's true, yeah. No, man, it's, you soak up a little sun in the tropics and yeah, that's all it is, man. Just spending some time not being here. That's good enough, so, yeah.
All right. Well, we got this Bellator 159 card. It's very much one of the 4 fights and some stuff cards to talk about. There's a few fighters on the undercard of some note. Chuck Willis, who had a fun fight with Hakeem Dawodu back in World Series of Fighting that he lost, but has since been on a pretty good tear. Gaston Reno, who's a Argentinian prospect that they've invested some time in, and he looks like he could be a fun guy in the future. A couple other guys, Chris Harris and the final prelim, Trey Ogden, Manny Moraz, who have some decent regional records, who could maybe show up here and put on a show. A women's strawweight fight, or a couple women's strawweight fights, in fact, with a couple Brazilian women, Bruna Ellen and Bruna Vargas. That's
there can only be one, the Battle of the Brunas.
Yeah.
You're missing out on a marketing opportunity here, I guess.
Bellator is building towards a Bruna versus Bruna showdown in the future.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But not much notable on the undercard of this to pick apart. So we're just going to dive right into the first main card fight. Philip Lins versus Guilherme Viana. And Eddie, what do you think about this fight?
It's a fight. I think they are definitely true light heavyweights, pretty big dudes. They're both pretty hungry. We haven't seen Lins in a little bit of time. I think 2014 was his last fight. He blew his knee out against Kelly Anundsen. I don't know.
Anundsen, yeah.
Anundsen, that dude. But in that fight, I mean, he was doing pretty well. Yeah. He was able to stuff the takedown a couple times, if I recall right. But I don't know. So there's a huge gap in time there, and who knows what that recovery is like. So there's a big question mark around him. On the other side, we got Guilherme Viana, who, he beat the ghost of Houston Alexander. He absolutely put some hands on him.
He gave Houston Alexander his walking papers from Bellator.
Yeah, that was it for him.
That was for real right there.
I fucking knew it.
But I mean, in that fight, he put his combination punching together, which I liked, because when he fought Francis Carmont, he was a one-off striker. So it was nice to see him actually let his hands go a little bit, throw a couple combos. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is a striker versus a grappler. Viana has the amateur boxing experience. Lynn seems to be a hyper-aggressive grappler. So this is kind of a toss-up. I don't know. I'll probably go with Lynn's here just because I'll go with the unknown, but I would not bet on this at all, and I don't recommend you do either.
Well, interestingly, on the unknown thing, Lynn's was like kind of a big light heavyweight prospect back in the like 2013 or so BE scouting report days. I believe he's the guy that people had high hopes for a few years ago and who just kind of fell off the face of the earth for a while. But anyway, Vic, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Vic's thoughts are that his internet connection is bad.
He's still in the islands, everybody. He's still from the Dominican Republic, reporting live.
Yeah, I brought back the coconut internet. Are we good?
Yeah, I think we're all right for now.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, it is a little. I was hoping you guys would be a little happier for this fight than you are now, at least.
I'm more excited than Eddie. I'm throwing it to you first, so you have to provide the hype.
All right. Well, here's the thing. Viana is currently 7-2. His only losses were way back in the IFC to Rodney Wallace and the aforementioned fight against Carmont. And obviously, the typical Carmont win, a slow, grinding decision. He beat Houston Alexander, as we saw, and I believe he's still training with Glover Teixeira and his people. Now, Lynn's, it was a bit of a disappointment. I think that was a tournament fight, too, when he had that loss due to the doctor stoppage against Kelly Adamson. But prior to that, he had some pretty interesting showings before that, whether that was in the Brazilian circuit or in Bellator. But he had some flashes. He had some really good moments of showing not just really good fight IQ, but really surprising athleticism. And, he transitioned pretty well between his striking and his jiu-jitsu background. So this actually has a lot of potential to be really exciting. And the real question is going to be is how Lynn's is going to handle Viana's reach, how he's going to handle that sort of, rangy approach, like Junior Dos Santos in some ways, into standing. Problem is that he sometimes gets a bit ahead of himself, and he starts, being a little flustered when he's in too close. That phone booth range seems to mess with him on some occasions. So this has the potential to be a hell of a lot more fun than it seems at first. So yeah, and actually just based on hype alone, and because of the fact that I feel he's a better all-around fighter, I'm going to go with Lynn's on this too.
Yeah, I'm a little torn because I thought that Viana actually looked like a pretty good light heavyweight prospect coming up in his career, and I was a little surprised that the UFC he was on the tough heavyweight season they did with the Brazilians that ended up with Antonio Carlos Jr. Winning, and I was a little surprised they just kind of let him walk away after that and didn't try to hold on to Viana, which does make me pretty interested in this fight. I'm interested to see who comes out on top. Lynn's is, he's the classic sort of casual fighter's prospect in that he's a good athlete and a really fun grappler, and that tends to get a lot of MMA hardcore fans all wet and bothered. But I don't know necessarily how, especially, it's kind of weird because light heavyweight, so few guys grapple at light heavyweight that we've seen some really, functionally one-dimensional grapplers do really well for long periods of time there. Dudes like Anthony Peroche can have, these really long, weirdly successful light heavyweight or heavyweight careers just because they're the only guy that grapples in the division.
Whoa. The hippo can knock people out. We saw that against Vinny Magalhaes.
Yeah, the hippo is the most dangerous animal in the world, so clearly, he's got a whole lot of things going for him.
He does.
But I don't know. I feel like Viana is kind of he has the ability to be a very controlling, powerful top control guy or top wrestler when he wants. Just kind of sit on people and smother them. And I don't know that I trust Lynn's grappling game against that necessarily, so I'm going to pick Viana as sort of like the patient, power punching, not necessarily wrestle boxer, but boxer who's willing to just kind of be the more stifling fighter. The wall and maul fighter has that. Let's see, odds on this fight. We actually don't have odds, weirdly. I'm not sure exactly what this card's gonna be because we're getting. Well, maybe it's just a mistake.
Well, here's what happened. Initially, as of an hour and some change ago, the initial lineup was going to have the strawweight fight between Bruna Ellen and Jessica Middleton. So that was initially going to be on the main card, and for whatever reason, maybe because the opponent...
Actually, it was the other Bruna fight, Bruna Vargas versus Emily Ducote.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, that's what it says on. That's what the odds line is up. Bruna Vargas, Emily Ducote.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. But I guess that was going to be on the main card, and now it's not. I don't know.
So we don't have odds on this fight. We have Bruna Vargas, Emily Ducote odds, which I'll read instead because why the fuck not? They're there. Minus 245 to 235 for Vargas, plus 175 to plus 185 for Ducote. These women are 2-0 for Vargas and 2-1 for Ducote. That is not the kind of fight that you should be betting on in any reality.
No.
These two people are wildly inexperienced and have fought on entirely different circuits thus far, and we have no idea how they're going to match up. Do not bet on that fight, but those odds exist just in case you are crazy and love throwing money in a toilet. That brings us to our next bout, Daniel Weichel versus Emmanuel Sanchez. Vic, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, this fight is going to be dope. I don't see any way this fight ends up being absolutely terrible and boring and all these other things. On the one hand, you got Weichel, who has come over from the European circuit and taken on guys such as Matt Bissett, Des Green, Pat Curran, and Georgia Karahanian and beaten all of them. His last loss was against Patricio Pitbull by knockout at Bellator 138. And it's going to be a tall order here because Sanchez has gained a lot of love. He's earned a lot of respect by slowly being brought along, and not just facing, but for his, who's going out there and he's winning, and yeah, I'm doing that thing again, aren't I? Yeah,
you're cutting out. Your voice is going all robotic.
Fuck. Okay.
Don't move. The more you move, the more it cuts out because the more work the camera has to do. I think, but don't quote me on that. So stay. I want you stock still, like statuesque. Like there you go.
There you go. All right. So
not to move your lips too much either.
Sun coconuts. The deal with Sanchez is that he's a guy who's been brought along relatively slowly, and he has shown a lot of talent, but I don't know if he's going to be ready for this level of talent. I don't know if he's going to be ready to deal with the timing and the speed and athleticism that Weichel can bring. Not only that, but that crafty submission game. You know, it's not your basic MMA submission grappling. There's a little more to it in terms of how he sets up his submissions, how he likes to hold guys and control them, and usually how he gets guys into fits when even from his back, you know, in order to work his way to standing back up. So I really do like Sanchez a lot for this fight. I think he really could pull this off. I'm just not really sure he's got the best chances of doing so. So even using his range and everything, I don't know. I really see Weichel overwhelming him in this one and taking this fight.
All right, Eddie, your thoughts?
I think this is definitely going to be fight of the night. These guys, I don't think I've seen either of them in a boring fight. Especially Sanchez. I mean, the dude just comes forward religiously, and I mean, he's just tough, and he has crisp, fundamental kickboxing. He's got slick jiu-jitsu. He's ballsy, like he'll go for things he maybe shouldn't. And he'll pay the price for it, but he's good enough to get out of the bad situations that it puts him in. So no harm, no foul, unless you're dealing with someone who is of a certain caliber, and Daniel Weichel is of that certain caliber. Just like when he fought Pat Curran. Sanchez, he was a little too comfy, or maybe he just didn't have the knowledge to get off of his back. So I don't think Sanchez has the venom to hurt Weichel on the feet, although he does have the volume, and I don't believe he has the wrestling to put him on his back. And he's just too comfortable on his back. So I don't know. I think Weichel's top game is too savvy for him to get submitted. So I got to go Weichel here. He has more ways to win, and I can see him taking the decision.
Yeah, Sanchez to me kind of has like the fundamental pieces of like he's a very strong fundamental Rufus sport fighter without having the highlight athleticism that has made some of the best Rufus sport fighters really successful. Like he's winning a lot, but I mean,
he's the winningest guy in that camp.
It's close split decisions over Daniel Pineda, close split decision over Justin Lawrence, close split decision over Henry Corrales, and it's not like he hasn't shown the ability to really like dominate, even though he's a good technical fighter and has been a better technical fighter than some of his opponents. He often I feel like Pineda had a decided athletic advantage in that fight and just kind of gassed out quickly and ended up getting outworked as the fight went on. And I think Weichel's too well trained for that, too high level. So I have to go with that too. It also seems like Sanchez may be kind of getting groomed into that role that Bellator loves of the guy that you build up his record just good enough to present him as a viable challenger to your elite talent when they need a comeback win. And it's just like, well, we need to get Weichel a win to get him back in contention. So we'll give him Sanchez, who is now we've put him on a roll, and he's in just the right spot to be that comeback win.
But on the same token, I mean, I think it's excellent for the prospect. I mean, you're giving him world-class talent to test his skills against, and if it doesn't work, okay, let's give him some softer balls to swing at, and it's working out. So even if he does lose here, no big deal. He goes to 13-3. He faces a lesser-known name, hopefully comes out and gets a finish, and then he's right back in the mix.
Yeah, I mean it has its benefits, and the big problem is that it tends to not let guys can get really stuck in those roles where like the elite guy is always going to be in the elite level, and the guy that they don't want to be elite is always going to be
David Rickles. Excuse me.
So it can be a little bit of a there are positives and negatives. The positives are fighters do get bounce back fights. They do get return the ability to go get a win and then go fight another elite opponent. Whereas the UFC is just okay, elite opponent, elite opponent, elite opponent, elite opponent. But the other side of that is that some of those guys who get stuck in the bounce back fight role never really get the chance to climb the ladder the way that they might otherwise. Odds on that fight, Weichel is the favorite, -190 down to -170. Sanchez +150 to +156. I'm actually a little surprised the line is that close, considering that Weichel has only lost recently to Patricio Freire, and otherwise his last loss was to Musa Hamanaev back in 2012. And he's beat Pat Curran and Des Green and Georgi Karakhanyan since then. Sanchez has good wins, but they're not that caliber. So I'm a little surprised. I think a lot of it's the
name value of Sanchez. He's been consistently on Spike TV. A lot of dumb money coming in on him.
I guess, yeah. Maybe it's that. I think it's just people looking at records and being like, this dude's 13-2 and this dude's 36-9, and I expect the guy who's on, who's only lost twice to be competitive. I don't know. I'm sure he will be competitive. It'll be a fun fight, but I definitely feel like Weichel is the smarter pick. That brings us to the co-main event: Melvin Guillard versus David Rickles.
Oh.
Eddie, how how ready are you to pick Melvin Guillard here?
All I gotta say is what a segue, Zane. You went right into the not making it to champion and right into these guys. I mean, talk about guys who were like almost there, like knocking at the door of the title shot and then just falling flat. But man, David Rickles won 3 of his last 7. Melvin Guillard won 3 of his last 12. What the fuck? Like, what is this? Like, that's crazy. This will be an action fight, though, I guarantee that, and I'm pretty sure it's going to end early.
The 3 of the last 7 thing is a little misleading on Rickles, should be said.
Yes.
Because he had 1 no contest in a fight that he was absolutely dominating.
Well, one of those is a no contest for Guillard as well, and that's another thing. I guarantee there's going to be a bunch of fouls.
But Guillard being 3 in his last 12, that does feel much more indicative where Guillard's at right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is just so crazy to me. But I managed to talk myself into Melvin, and here's how I did it.
Oh, fuck. Oh, this ought to be good. Oh, shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, there are 5 levels of athleticism in top-level MMA, okay? So the first one being, your guys who are, they're doing well on the regional scene, but they get to the top tier and they're just not athletic enough to compete. Back to the regional as you go. They might get 1 big fight. Number 2, you got the guys who are just athletic enough to get there, maybe win a fight, maybe have 3 fights total, like a Cody Pfister, just not quite athletic enough to just really compete. And then you got
you've totally misused Cody Pfister as an example, but I get you. Keep going.
You don't think so? You don't think he's
Cody Pfister is like the very lowest end of the athletic spectrum at lightweight, who is getting by on pure toughness, durability, and strength of will. Like, that dude is insane and insane.
So he has just enough athleticism to compete.
He's competing with like insane mental toughness and complete lack of athleticism.
He's right there at the cusp. I see what you're saying, but he's like right there. Well, anyway, then you got your average athlete. Okay, he will give physical problems to any regional guy. He is not exactly fluid, a little clunky in his movement. These are your David Rickles. These are your Keith Jardines, your Michael Bispings. Number 4, you got your above average, your Luke Rockholds, your fluid guys, Melvin Guillard types. And then number 5 is like your super athletes, your freaks, your Yoel Romeros, your NCAA Division I athletes, those type of guys. And I feel like this is a number 3 against a number 4. And the defensive lapses in Rickles' stand-up, I feel like, are wide enough for Melvin to still be explosive enough to get in there and get the job done. So I'm going to pick Melvin because I'm a sucker.
Yeah.
I would never bet on him, and I would never encourage anyone to bet on him. But I'm going to pick Melvin.
All right, Vic. Please bring some sense before I start mailing out tinfoil hats here.
I got to say that actually was pretty great. I may disagree with it, but I respect it. And I just wanted to say one note regarding your scale of athleticism. It is a little tricky because athleticism is directional and very layered, so it's a little tougher. It's like the Cormier John Jones thing. Oh, he can't dunk a basketball. Oh, he can't. It's a can of worms you don't want to really. But whatever, fine. But my bigger problem with this is trying to understand how this fight is actually happening, because this whole 3-12, 3-7. Melvin's last 3-12, if you want to really look at it that way, was a fight where he missed weight against Justin Gaethje, so allegedly selected Brandon Gertz as his first opponent, and then couldn't even handle that task. And then, I mean, I don't understand how a guy coming off a win like that, and I get that Bellator has a shallower pool of talent, but he's taking on a guy who's off a win, coming off a guy with 3 straight losses. The only justification I can think of is that Bellator is probably paying Melvin just enough to say, look, we want your name value and your star power. We have to give him certain fights. But it's almost like he failed upwards in this sense. You know what I mean? It's a very weird thing. So that is ultimately the weirdest thing. And the fact that, Eddie, you did mention something great here. Rickles' defensive lapses could very well cost him. But you know what, man?
Dami Arigato, Mr. Roboto.
That shit again? Okay. Just let me know when it sounds better. Is that better?
Rickles' defensive lapses.
Yeah, I mean, I still cannot trust Melvin Guillard to get the job done. I just can't. And so, therefore, I'm going to go with Rickles, end of story.
I think an important thing for me here is Rickles, for his lapses, for the fact that he's not the world's greatest athlete, has only been fighting as a pro since 2010.
Oh, Christ.
He's still developing from fight to fight consistently. And I would actually argue that in Rickles' loss to his last loss to Michael Chandler, that actually looked, honest to God, like the best fighter that Rickles has ever been. And it was just that it was sort of like that final reckoning of you are not actually a good enough athlete to beat an elite athlete in their prime. Because he was doing all the right things, he was fighting the right way, he looked in shape, he was pulling the trigger, he looked fast, and Chandler was just faster and stronger and more powerful and could match him moment for moment everywhere. But I do think that Rickles is a pretty strong, powerful fighter in the prime of his career, like a powerful puncher brawler in the prime of his career. And Guillard is just so shop worn at this point. Like, shit's just falling off the dude, you know? It sucks because I remember talking to him not long ago and talking to him about, what do you think about, injury, wear and tear, and time on the body and stuff like that? And he's like, I've never been, I don't have that. I don't feel worn down. I don't feel, injured. The only thing I've been dealing with in my career is a hand injury. And yet, even if he's wrong and he has been progressively slowing down and becoming more worn down, even that aside, we are seeing the effects of that hand injury fight to fight. Like, he keeps breaking that hand, and he's becoming a less sure puncher with it because of it. Like, he's broken his power hand over and over again, and because of that, it's limiting his offense.
I don't know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well,
no.
Go ahead.
I got to question his dedication to his training, though, more than anything. I mean, his own friend King Mo dimed him out. Said, yeah, that title fight, he only came in, hit pads 2 days. Like, I don't know, man. I really don't know.
I know, but we've also heard since then from King Mo and from others that he is very dedicated at this point. Like, they're saying that he looks more dedicated than ever. I just don't think that, at some point, fighting takes its toll, and Guillard has been doing this shit forever. He has 50 fights on his record, and he's going back all the way to his, he as a teenager. He's 33 now, and he's been fighting since 2002. So, and I'm pretty sure he has an amateur career before that, because he was just fighting in bars in New Orleans.
Yeah. He had amateur or smokers and stuff. Yeah, he had some boxing and kickboxing bouts. Yeah.
And so, you're talking a ton of wear and tear against somebody like Rickles, who, Rickles has been hurtable. He has been knockoutable. But, Tricky Friere, Michael Chandler twice, and I think one loss, a decision to Carl Amasu, and that's it. He's not getting knocked out and touched up by any dude who comes in there with some power. You actually tend to have to be a pretty elite fighter to break him down, and I don't think that Guillard is there anymore.
I don't think you have to break him down. I just think you need that one crisp, clean, well-placed punch, and Melvin has that. Pitbull has that. Chandler has that.
Melvin hasn't shown nearly enough of it, though, lately.
True. Very true.
I don't see it, you know. He's been able to knock out some other old dudes like JZ Cavalcante and Mac Danzig. But otherwise, his last KO of a young fighter near his prime was Evan Dunham in 2011.
Oh, Christ.
Half a decade. That's crazy.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, Shane Roller would be the other dude, and I'm pretty sure Shane Roller retired almost right after that fight. So,
So let's say Melvin loses. What then? Is he done?
they'll probably cut him eventually. I mean, I don't know how long his contract is for, but this is. I mean, I think he's getting the name value treatment where he's a big enough name that they're putting him in big positions. He has to take big fights because they're paying him enough, basically. And once he's done losing out those big fights, they'll get rid of him. So.
That's bad.
Yeah, that's how this feels like. This feels like the Melvin Guillard resigned to fighting regional shows tour. Like, after this, it'll be, you know, small shows near his hometown. We'll see him on, like, Victory FC or something on Fight Pass. And that'll be...
Maybe he'll fight Paul Harris somewhere.
Eesh. I hope not. That would be bad for Guillard. That'd be really bad for Guillard.
I got the remedy for you right here, baby. Venator FC. You're welcome.
All right. Let's happier things. Okay, wait. I gotta do the odds for this fight. Rickles is the favorite, minus 138 to minus 160. Melvin Guillard plus 126 to plus 120. I think that's way too close on Guillard. He has not won these kind of fights in quite a while.
Nope.
And you can't even be like, well, he's been fighting the best competition. No, he's been fighting dudes. So I think that's a bit close on a puncher's chance for Guillard or Guillard. And that brings us to the main event, Happier Times, Darian Caldwell versus Joe Timenglow. And Vic, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a bit of a strange one because I've been pretty high on Timenglow in the past. He has been a guy he's been on a bit of a tear ever since he had that loss to Rob Emerson a while ago. He's been on, let me see, 3-fight win streak, and you know, 2 of them have been decisions, 1 of them have been a knockout. He's very deceptive with his power, very sharp with his ground game in some spots, but my problem with this particular fight is that he's taking on a guy who looks to be absolutely unstoppable right now in Darian Caldwell. I don't think any of us would have expected in any way that he would have dismantled Joe Warren and just obliterated him the way he did in that last fight that he had.
I think Eddie picked him too. To Eddie's credit, I believe he was high on the Darian Caldwell hype train. But
I think we were all high on that hype train, but I don't think we expected that. Well,
I was not high on it at all. So you know.
I think he probably surprised Eddie too with just how it went down. Not just that he won. That's one thing. He could pick who won.
He made a
that was a coming out party right there. And a guy like Timenglow, who is already at a bit of a size disadvantage, he's definitely got a speed disadvantage. I don't know how he's going to be able to deal with the kind of wrestling and the pressure and the unexpected spurts of otherworldly athleticism. I just don't really see that happening. I don't understand what kind of game plan he's going to be able to set up. Leg kicks probably aren't going to work. You're probably going to eat a hand or two just for trying that. Timenglow can certainly hurt him. I can certainly see him landing maybe 1 or 2 good shots, but not really anything significant that would be able to put him away. So, yeah, that's pretty much where we're at right now. I'm definitely going to go with Caldwell. It's too easy a pick, and it's pretty much where the smart money would be at.
All right, Eddie, what's your thoughts?
I think this is going to be a good test for Caldwell, and I really hope that he struggles to get Timenglow down. Timenglow is really short, real stocky, low hips. It's going to be tough to get up under him like that. I mean, the dude's a cannonball, you know? So I really hope that Timenglow can stuff the takedown, and we have to see Caldwell adapt and use different tools that we haven't seen from him, and that's what I'm expecting out of this. If he just goes and grinds out Timenglow, I'm going to be disappointed, especially after what he just did to Joe Warren. I feel like if he wants the belt next, if he thinks he's ready, he needs to come out here and he needs to put Time Anglo away. Tom Anglo's tough and he has a puncher's chance, but I don't know. I don't see him out grappling Caldwell. That's for damn sure. So I mean, I have to pick Caldwell here. I think it's a really good test for him. I just don't think he's gonna get the finish. This is a 3-round fight. I'm gonna pick Caldwell by decision.
I'm willing to pick Caldwell by submission here. I feel like he can submit him. I don't see why. Like if he can take him down and just ride him from top ride, I don't see why he wouldn't be able to submit him. If he can submit Joe Warren, you know.
Didn't he look like a little like a young or like a small Kevin Randleman when he suplexed Joe Warren with that blonde hair and everything?
Yes, I mean, like the reasons too that like I don't really feel like he'll have a lot of trouble getting Time Anglo down is, I mean, it's not like to me this is kind of, and I realize I'm underrating Time Anglo here, but it's kind of a step back to me for Caldwell, and I mean like he fought Rafael Silva, Sean Bunch, Joe Warren, and now Joe Time Anglo, and like if nothing else, Time Anglo is kind of like right at the same Rafael Silva level, where it's like, yeah, this dude's pretty good and kind of a really tough dude to put away, really experienced, and we've only seen Caldwell get better since that Silva fight, so. I feel like Caldwell's frankly ready for the title shot right now, and this is just that last win they're going to give him to make sure, to get him that there. They're hoping he can really highlight and excite people in a main event spot again, and then put him in that title shot, because it's not like Eduardo Dantas is unbeatable,
I think what it is that Joe Warren just didn't give him the test that Bellator thought he was going to. I think Bellator thought, hey, Warren's gonna, Greco-Roman wrestling, freestyle wrestling.
I think it's that Dantas and Galvao keep getting fucking injured, and they've had to push that fight back and call the old Caldwell fight now, and want to keep him busy, and so they're giving him another build-up.
That could be the case too.
Like if Eduardo Dantas and if Dantas Galvao had happened like 3 months ago, like it was originally supposed to, or 6 months ago, I think Caldwell would probably be fighting for a title right now.
Does Dantas beat Caldwell?
I don't think so.
Don't see it. If Joe Warren can control him like that, I don't see how Caldwell can't replicate something on that level.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Like Dantas is good. He's a fun, scrappy highlight athlete, but he's very beatable. It's not like Dantas is some technical wizard that just can lock everyone down and easily just master them.
Well, let's say that he can't get Time Anglo down. I mean, then what? What do we? Is he gonna just stick and move? I mean, is he a good enough kickboxer to do that?
I think he's a good enough athlete to do it. What I've seen from Caldwell's striking is somebody who really gets functionally how MMA works. Like he's a very transition-filled fighter. Really understands how to weave all the parts of the game together. He kind of reminds, like in that way, and more dynamically, but in that way, he kind of reminds me a bit of Will Brooks, where it's just like, even if, like in that Ross Pearson fight, Will Brooks is a way less technical kickboxer than Ross Pearson, but he was still able to make enough things work often enough to get his offensive game done, to get it done, and to win a close fight. So I feel like even if he can't just out-wrestle Time Anglo, he can probably get enough parts working to win, to keep ahead.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I can see that. I just feel like he's going to have a wrestling advantage and a grappling advantage that he can press. So odds on this are a bit high, bit long. Darren Caldwell is the favorite, minus 1213 to minus 1500.
Oh, what?
Fucking Christ. Why do we even bother? That's just amazing. Jesus.
Time Anglo is the underdog, plus 700 to plus 850. So
That's longer than a flight to Taiwan. Oh my goodness. That's insane.
Yeah.
Don't bet on that. That's silly.
No.
Nope.
Is there an over-under?
Let's see. There's an over 1.5 rounds is minus 140.
That's
That
not
might
terrible.
that's not a bad bet. Caldwell, he did great against Warren in his last fight, and
but Warren could be done.
But Warren could be done. Warren's near 40. He did great against Bunch, but Bunch is like 4 fights into his career at that point, 5 fights into his career at that point. And last time he fought another, a seasoned vet like Taiwan Glow, that Rafael Silva fight, that was a decision. And so the over-under 1.5 rounds thing, there might be a little, over 1.5 at 140, at minus 117 even.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's worth a little tiny bit chunk of change.
If you have to, like if you need your fix.
Yeah. If you just cannot stop yourself from betting on a fight, then that might be something to look at. But otherwise, Caldwell's not worth the minus 1,500 odds here, even if he's very, very, very likely to win.
Mm.
And there's no betting on Time and Glow at plus 850. Like I don't. If you just want to waste $1, if you're like, yeah, I could win $8.50 back if I waste this one, you'll.
Like again, if you need your fix, do it. Otherwise,
Yeah. On that note, I think we're gonna wrap things up. Do you have any Bellator thoughts? Anybody?
Yeah. Recently announced, Benson Henderson will be facing Patricio Pitbull Freire. I don't know which event it is, but I'm excited because that's going to be interesting, to say the least. Oh, one more thing. I'm sorry. Special shout out to Cyborg Santos and his family. He sustained a gruesome injury, something I've never seen before, and it was a little bit of a reality check for us desensitized folks that these guys are fighting each other. This is combat. So
he also got pokeballed like he's a fucking Squirtle or something. I did not blame him at all for being.
That was bad timing. That was just bad timing.
That's bad timing.
I have no hate for MVP for doing that, but I can totally understand why Cyborg after that was like, dude, you're a fucking douchebag. Like, I just got my skull caved in, and you Pokemon, you rolled a Pokeball at me in the cage.
It's epic, though. It was trending so hard.
It was. No, it was cool. But like I said, I don't have any hate for MVP on that. But I totally understand where Cyborg's coming from on being like, fuck you, man. He did. Did you just see? Chris Cyborg tweeted out and started a GoFundMe.
Yeah, but Bellator.
Bellator's covering it, but. So Evangelista Cyborg, is donating all that money to like a local community center in his hometown.
He is, yeah.
Which is pretty fucking awesome.
Good on.
That's great. That is great.
Because I would not pick Evangelista Cyborg as somebody to be like rolling in dough and not needing an extra $30,000, but for him to just turn around and cut that check to a local charity is pretty great.
Yeah.
So. All right. On that note, you can find me on Twitter at TheZaneSimon. You can find Vic on Twitter at VicMRodriguez. You can find Eddie on Twitter at TheEddieMercado. You can find all three of us on Bloody Elbow in our various capacities. We will be coming back at you next week for more vivisections. I might be asking one of you guys to dip in and do a vivisection for the UFC card next week because Connor's gone. So I'll get back to you on that. We'll be coming with... what's it? UFC 201 next week, or is there a fight night card?
No, I think it's a fight night.
201, Robbie Lawler versus Tyron Woodley.
Cool.
So we'll have all our shows for that. Care, don't care, vivisection, knuckle up, heavy hands, all that good stuff. In the meantime, thanks everyone for tuning in. Give us a like over on YouTube. Subscribe to MMANation.com. It's DOTCOM over on YouTube. That way you get all our latest videos. We will see you next time.